Space. Wait. Ignore that. That's from a secret project I'm working on that no one has ever done before. In all seriousness, space is a very daunting topic to discuss, as there's just so much we do not know about what is out there. One thing we do know about is all the artificial satellites that we've put up there, as well as this one rock I threw this one time in primary school when I was Superman. Sadly, there are people out there that think the artificial in artificial satellites means fake or made up. Oh, here's one of them now. Enjoy.
There are literally thousands and thousands of broadcast networks out there for your consumption of data, whether on computer, live stream, or traditional networks. Your cell phone and all the data that's done there. All of this is made possible by satellites, or at least that's what you've been told.
In the case of phones, it's cell towers. The vast majority of broadcasts are done with towers that utilise cables to carry the signal to a tower. Satellites are very rarely used to broadcast TV, as it is highly unreliable and subject to daily outages. It's also easily hacked and intercepted.
But is that the truth? Are all these massive communications around the world available to you because we have satellites in outer space? Let me offer the following. Did you know that depending on your source, between 97 and 99% of all communications worldwide are done through undersea cables, which are all located on Earth? Did you know that?
Sure did. It's called the Submarine Cable Network, and it was first trialled way back in 1842. Now we use fibre optic cables, and they were introduced in the late 80s, with the SCA ME-WE3 cable being the longest at roughly 39,000 kilometres long.
Well, what about all those satellites? Well, here's one. This satellite crashed into a farm in Michigan.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is not a satellite. That was part of Samsung Europe's space selfie campaign back in 2019, with Samsung releasing a statement. Earlier today, Samsung Europe's space selfie balloon came back down to Earth. During this planned descent of the balloon to land in the US, weather conditions resulted in an early soft landing in a selected rural area. No injuries occurred and the balloon was subsequently retrieved. We regret any inconvenience this may have caused. Here's another angle of the craft, still tethered to the balloon that's off screen.
Notice the red cable to the left. This is where it is tethered to a balloon which is up in the tree at the time of this shooting.
This should have been your first cause for questioning. Satellites aren't tethered to anything.
We're seeing these satellite crashes all over the world. You don't hear about them much, do you? Here's just another example of one that fell in another open area. We have seen these in all different places around the world.
That is a balloon from a rather comically named Project Loon, which is an Alphabet, the owners of Google, project to provide internet access to rural areas of the world using high-altitude balloons. Hence, the Loon. The plastic on the side is a dead giveaway for its origin. Here is an large image showing what it says.
And they always have a tether to a balloon. Why would there be a balloon in outer space with these satellites? And if there is no balloon, how did they fall all those hundreds of miles and not be damaged?
They don't go into space. They are in the stratosphere and usually at an altitude between 8 and 25 kilometers. As you can see, this one has an altitude of 0 kilometers, meaning that something went wrong with the balloon part.
They didn't burn up either. Is there a practical way that even little people like me and you could verify that there's an issue with what we've been told all our lives about satellites?
Well, now, don't let this get out. There's this magical tool out there by this tiny startup company called Google. You may have heard of them. It allows you to find out information and verify that information via peer-reviewed articles. What, you think I know all this stuff off the top of my head?
Actually, there is. This is near where I live in Tempe, Arizona. And as you can see, it is quite the city with all kind of obstructions, trees, houses, you name it. So it's harder in a big city like Tempe, Arizona to be able to actually see different satellites.
It's hard anywhere on the planet to see satellites. While it is possible, it is still rare to see one, and they are often mistaken for planes or even UFOs.
Or have a device access satellites in the sky, especially a device that may need more than 2 or 3 satellites to use GPS navigation, for example. So what kind of product that many people have we can use to test this theory out that satellites are not what we were told?
GPS doesn't mean satellite for one. In urban areas, it primarily uses Wi-Fi, 3, 4, and 5G networks. It uses data from the internet to get an accurate reading of the position of the device receiving the data. You are thinking that GPS means satellite navigation, which has its own dedicated network. For example, the US has a GPS system of 32 medium orbit satellites in 6 different orbital planes. These use the CDMA network.
Well, here's an example right here. This is a typical drone that uses GPS technology that is supposedly only available through satellites. I've got one like this, and it says it needs 8 satellites to be able to locate where it is and use the GPS function. In the city of Tempe, in a park with all kind of trees all around, buildings, houses, etc., the GPS on my drone has no issues at all finding 8 quote-unquote satellites.
As I said, it doesn't use satellites, it uses other networks. On a side note, trees and mountains wouldn't interfere with a satellite-based system as, they're in space, which is way up, high in the sky.
But what happens when we go to an open area? That should be even much easier for the drone to find satellites for GPS navigation, correct? Here in the Salton Sea, California, there's absolutely no overhead obstructions, yet the drone will not be able to find any satellites for GPS navigation.
Nope. It can't find any network towers. This is a satellite phone. You see that big chunky antenna on it? That's so it can transmit and receive signals in low Earth orbit, roughly 2,000 kilometers away. GPS is in mid-Earth orbit. This animation shows the heights and speeds of those satellites.
Question everything.
Yes, do investigate, as it really is quite fascinating how these things work. Keep yourself informed and subscribe for more bad science debunking. Now, Mr. Thrive and Survive did do a follow-up to this with a very misleading title of I am an idiot when it comes to satellites. His words, not mine. If you'd like me to cover that follow-up, do let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do so. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it this far, you might as well smash that like button and share it with others. I know some of you watch without being subscribed. This ain't Twitch, so subscribing is free. If you're thinking, I have some spare money I'd love to piss away on something frivolous, then please do join the Patreon and get a shout out like Purple Haze and Ghostface, who contribute to the channel, not only via their patronage, but by also providing input in the Patreon only section of the Discord server. If you have a story or video you'd like to see get covered, submit it over at the subreddit and it may be featured in a future video. Until next time, friends, don't be a dick. Good night.